Hey y'all, today I'm gonna teach y'all a little idea I come up with. My grandma passed away in March, and counting my little brother who passed away, she had 13 grandchildren. And I'm sure you know mini urns and little urn necklaces cost a lot of money, and I just did not have the money to pay for 12 mini urns plus for my uncle and my aunt. So this is the idea I come up with. But today we're going to be making these for, this is my dog Petey. He was a Australian cattle dog. He was a good boy. And this is my girl Paige. She's the one I had tattooed right here. She was my pit lab mix, and she passed away at the age of 11, and it damn near killed me. But I have to keep their pictures on top so I can remember who's who. So, all right, I'm going to do them a double urn to keep them together since they were together here. And for this, I get these little bottles. You can get them at the Dollar Tree. 6 small, 6 large, and you get 7 mediums for $1. They got a little cork top. So that's what we're using. I've cut 4 pieces of cord. Pink for my girl, blue for my boy. This time I only done them 3 foot long because I'm going to combine them both to make the hanger. And I don't know if you can see this, but I got a little puppy paw to add on to the charms. We'll have some little beads on them too. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. Oh, I forgot. I got some little turquoise, blue topaz, and citron stones to go in with my cremated remains. And since Paige was my favoriteest baby girl in the whole wide world, we're going to start with Paige's. It's the same technique as the stone I wrapped for my brother the other day for you. But this one you'll only need to go up, I believe, 2 levels. We'll see when we get there. Let's make sure that's not going to slip out the bottom. And that'll be fine. You might hear some dogs barking or some cats whining. My animals are spoiled rotten. They think I'm here for them and only them. And if it wasn't rainy here and soggy in North Carolina, I'd be at work today. So I'm thankful it rained, because I really didn't want to do a metal roof today when I can make an urn for my babies. All right, while we wrap this urn, I guess we're going to talk about my brother Travis, who passed away now. Travis was supposed to be born in October. He come a month early and the day before my 5th birthday, and I was really upset. I did not want my party ruined by a hospital trip, and I'm such a mean little kid. I'd been an only child for 5 years, so I straight told my mama that I didn't know where she got that ugly baby from, but she needed to take him on back. So there's mama squalling because I'm unhappy on my birthday, and I don't like the new baby, and I got a problem, so I was just being a mean little evil thing. Well, I learned to love that little booger. And it was just me and him up until I was 7. And then along come Aaron. I might have been 8, I don't know. I'm old now, my memory's shot, but Travis was a sweet little kid. He looked nothing like us. All of us is fair skinned, born with blonde hair that turns into red before it's over. And Travis was this beautiful, dark haired, dark skinned, dark eyed little boy who didn't look a thing like us. He really didn't act like us. He was a little whiny and tattletale, and me and my brother Aaron was just hell on wheels from the get go. Aaron was sneaky, I was mouthy, and just tomboyish and just mean and always fighting. And one time we stole the mail from the whole trailer park when I was a kid and got in trouble. But anyway, that's another story. So we knew Travis was something was wrong with him because he kept bruising very, very easily. So we started to hunt down what was wrong with Travis. He was always very nasally and snotty and just never well. So the first thing, we took him to Gaston Memorial, which was a big mistake. They said he had a blood disorder. So we treated him for something he didn't even have for about a year. And he was put on steroids. He got really swelled and chunky. And one day we was sitting down eating, and it was just me and my two brothers at the table. My mom and my stepdad were eating in front of the TV. And my brother was trying to ask for more spaghetti, but he couldn't form the word spaghetti. So he starts screaming bloody murder because he don't know what's going on. And like I said, I was a mean little brat. So of course my mama thinks I'm in there torturing my little brother, pinching him or hitting him or something. But it's just later we found out it's because he was having a stroke and he couldn't get his words out, but we didn't know this right now. So we rushed him back to Gaston Memorial Hospital. This is coming from my 10-year-old mind, so some of it might be wrong, some of it might be what my mind had to tell itself to process what was going on at that young, because it really wasn't talked about. His illness wasn't explained. We just knew he was sick, and that was about it. My mom was totally focused on getting him better, and not that I blame her, but in the aftermath, me and my brother Aaron were kind of put to the side, which we needed to be because Travis, which we didn't know yet, but he was on his way to dying. Okay, so we rushed him back to Gaston Memorial, and they tell my mama that he needs his adenoids taken out. And not only could he not say this word, but he was getting really nasally, sound like this. And it was hard to understand him. So that was their excuse. His adenoids needed to be taken out. So he went through that surgery, had his adenoids taken out, and he got no better. So Mama was done fooling with Gaston Memorial, so she took him to Charlotte. And that's when we met Dr. Glenby. Awesome, awesome man. I could never thank him enough for what he done for my family. But that's when we found out that Travis did not need his adenoids taken out. He had cancer. He had blood cancer. And it's very rare cancer. It's called rhabdomyosarcoma. And the chances are in your life that you will never meet two people with this illness. It's that rare. And that year, 3 children around West Gastonia, Bessemer City area developed rhabdomyosarcoma. So immediately everybody was scared to death it was in our water because we live near a lithium plant, and that's where they're trying to blame everything back to. I do remember that my trailer park at the time come out and changed our water tank. So, that kind of did point to it was something in the water. But we really don't ever know. We never found out, but it's just very odd that 3 kids within 15 miles and all around this lithium plant end up with the same extremely rare cancer. So a year had done passed, and we had done lost a year on trying to help him through this cancer, listening to Gaston Memorial, doing surgeries that wasn't necessary. And the truth was, by the time we found out, he had already had hundreds of tumors in his brain. It was all over his body. It was in all his organs, but the main focus was in the brain. Okay, it wasn't long after that his voice just kept getting worse and worse, and the only thing I can compare it to is a deaf person, how they speak. It's very nasally and almost incoherent, but he was starting to speak this way. So we rushed him back to Charlotte to figure out what was going on. We couldn't understand his speech. Well, the problem was the tumors were pushing through the roof of his mouth, and eventually it caved in the roof of his mouth. I think he was still 5 when this happened, and it was just a big hole from his mouth up to the top of his head, and it kind of smelled bad, like bad breath, because it was just an open hole into the insides. It was really bad. Okay, right after this happened, the pressure from those tumors made my brother go blind. And I believe he was still 5 because he died 2 weeks after his 6th birthday. So my brother goes from being healthy as we thought, we didn't know what was really wrong. We really thought it was sinus issues, to being hundreds of tumors and blind and lost the roof of his mouth within a year. It was really, God, it don't seem like a year. It seems like about 5 years. It was the worst thing I will ever go through unless something happens to my own child. But he never let it get him down. He never cried much. He loved God more than anybody I've ever met, and this caused me to hate God, because in my 10-year-old eyes, he was killing my brother, and he was over killing my brother. My brother didn't deserve, at 6 years old, 5 years old, to lose his sight, to lose the roof of his mouth, to be scared to go swimming, to be scared to do anything because he can't see. And he never blamed God. He would always throw his little hand up and tell my mom that everything was going to be okay because Jesus had him. And I can't lie, it just made me really, really angry with God. Until I was probably 34 years old, I held that grudge with God because I just couldn't understand. Why do you hate my brother that bad that he had to go through all that when all he did was praise you harder than any preacher I've ever seen in my whole life? Man, I never got my answer to that, and I guess I'll never understand until I make it there and know. But he kept going strong, and that year, there's a cancer camp that's totally paid for. All medicines, all the doctors, nurses, everything's totally paid for. We got to do everything: boat riding, canoeing, rafting rivers, anything we wanted to do. They brought snakes in. It was like the most impressive thing I've ever seen in my life. It was a place for these kids to go for a week where they forget that they're dying. Most of them were dying. But they knew my brother wasn't going to make it. You had to be 6 years old to go to the camp. And they knew my brother wasn't going to make it. So they let him go a year early when he was 5. And I got that experience with him, and I'm so glad for that. I tried to continue going after that, and I did so until I was 16. But being mentally ill and having PTSD, it's hard to go back every year and at least 4 or 5 people that you loved and you spent your time with for a whole week and sometimes over and over for years wasn't coming back. They were gone, and it got me. So I quit going to that. But I'm glad Travis got to go with me. He was like a rock star. Everybody wanted to be around him. Everybody loved him. It was amazing. But Travis just kept getting sicker, and I mean, I was young, but I knew that he wasn't going to make it. But they had called us in so many times telling us he wasn't going to make it through the night, take him home, get him comfortable, and he just kept pulling through. So we never really believed it was going to happen, even though we watched it for a year. So we're all up there, and the chaplains called us in again to bring the family in, and my grandma and her sisters are in there singing hymns and stuff, and Travis just wanted everybody to go home. He asked could he have some quiet. His head was hurting. He wanted everybody to go home. So everybody agreed, and it wasn't nobody. I went home with my daddy, and my brother went home with, I believe, my Aunt Maudie. I'm not really sure, but it was just my stepdad, my mom, and my brother there. And before Travis went to sleep that night, okay, mind you, he was totally blind. He told my mama that he saw a light. My mama got really excited, thinking that his sight was coming back. So she calls the nurse and she's screaming, come in here, Travis' sight's coming back. And when the nurse got in there, she told my mom, she's like, Brenda, if you think about this for a minute, you'll know what he's saying. And you need to tell him that it's okay to go ahead and go on to the light. And that is probably the only reason why I never gave up on God, even though I was angry, because I know my brother saw something. And I know that nurse was so used to it that it didn't even faze her. So my mama had that discussion with him, and they went to sleep. About 2 a.m., I guess. Now, again, I'm remembering this from a 10-year-old, 11-year-old mind. I was 11 when he passed away. About 2 a.m. or so, the nurse comes in there and wakes my mom and my stepdad up. And Mom's like, what's wrong? And, you know, she's used to getting up and fixing these IVs that's beeping and whatever. So she's getting up, getting ready to help the nurse to do whatever she's got to do with Travis. And the nurse just looked at my mama and she said, Brenda, he's quit breathing. And my mama still, you know, between that being her kid and you never think your kids are going to die on you and just being woken up, she's like, well, what do you mean? Is he alive? And she had to tell my mama, no, he wasn't alive. And they got to spend their time with their baby. I was at my dad's and I was supposed to go to the county fair with my best friend that morning. My mom called. Until the day I die, I'll feel like a piece of shit, because after my mama told me that my brother died, I still asked her, could I go to the fair with my friend Marie, because that's what I had planned. And she said I could, but my daddy, you know, he kind of talked me out of that and told me that my mama needed me, and it was kind of insensitive to ask that when she's going through so much. So I'll feel like a piece of shit for that forever. But I was 11 years old, and I mean, I never thought it was going to happen. So my mama is the strongest woman I've ever seen. She broke down none through the whole service. They even brought my brother's daddy in shackles and chains because he had to get drunk that night and go get a DUI. So they brought him in shackles and chains, and my mama was even strong and held through that. But the moment they closed my brother's casket, I'm sorry, my mama lost it. she dropped to her knees. It's like all gravity every bit of gravity there ever was pulled her at one time, and she just hit the ground. I'll never forget that. And then he had over 500 people in attendance for his funeral because he had been on the news, and he had probably 20 different doctors and all of our teachers from school and all of the neighborhood, and we have a huge family too. And my brother had been on the news here in Charlotte a few times, so reporters came, and it was the biggest funeral I've ever seen in my life. We had 2 family cars. It was October when he passed away, so somebody donated a painted pumpkin for his grave, and it was so cool. It was painted up like a clown. But my brother's birthday was a day before mine. He died in 1990. I can't celebrate my birthday since. The best birthday we had together, Hurricane Hugo came in 1989, and this is when he was sick, but we didn't know he was sick yet. And we didn't expect Hugo to come so far inland. We was west of Charlotte, you know. We never thought it would come, but it did, and it was so amazing. I've always wanted to be a storm chaser, so we were so excited. And then our birthday party was the next day, and we had no power because we got tore up by this hurricane that come this far inland. We had no power, so we went to my grandma Gail's and had a cookout. My mom had a friend that worked at the Eckerd's, which used to be a drugstore here, and she made them come down there with a flashlight and go through and get us what crappy little toys she can pull together, because there was no power in the whole state hardly. And we had Hostess cupcakes for birthday cake, and the trees were down in my grandma Gail's backyard, and it was like the most exciting thing that can never ever be duplicated again. We were so excited as kids because we could climb to the very tip top of the trees because they were all on the ground. It's my favorite birthday memory with him. But I just thought y'all would like to know a little bit where my mental illness comes from. That's definitely where my PTSD comes from. All right, I gotta take that off camera and braid it because I can't hold it and braid it at the same time. But we're just braiding this one side. I'll show you when I get there, when I get done. But yeah, my brother was on the news and he's singing New Kids on the Block, the right stuff. And like I said, he didn't have a roof of his mouth, so he sounded really, really funny. He was like a little celebrity. He got visits from Ric Flair, Muggsy Bogues, and the Charlotte Hornet, Hugo the Hornet. He got a visit from the Moon Man. He got a visit from Bob and Sherry off the radio. He was an amazing little guy. My whole life, I look at every dark-haired man and wonder if that's what he would look like, or if I see little dark-headed kids, I think, is that what my nieces and nephews would look like? Because it's the worst thing that ever happened in our family. Okay, got this side done. just braided to one side. Now this side I'm not going to braid yet because I'm going to tie my two together. This is Paige and this is Petey. But I'm going to take this off camera and just braid it as well. And we're going to talk about how my Uncle Varmint bought, when Travis was in the hospital, you know, it's pretty boring up there, but they built a little motel room for Travis. He had a kitchen and he had a bedroom for Mama and a bathroom and all this. It was really nice. And my Uncle Varmint, well, my Uncle Ronnie, we call him Uncle Varmint because we country as hell, but he knew how bored Travis was, so he got us a Nintendo, and they wasn't that old. They were pretty expensive then, so we thought we was hot crap because we were poor kids, especially after Travis's cancer. So me and Travis used to play, and he always wanted to be Mario. It didn't bother me because he was dying and I just wanted to spend time with him. I didn't care. But he would make me so flippin' angry because he knew if he was Mario and I was jumping across a hole as Luigi that he could push pause. And when he unpaused it, my Luigi would just fall in the hole and die. And he would hit that. This is before he went blind. He would hit that and he would just cackle when I fell in that hole. I would get so mad. Mama, I'd scream, Travis is cheating. But we got over it. Alright, we got this side done. Alright, now I'm going to braid a little bit into this, probably about to here, then I'm going to stop it and braid the same where I can loop these together. Mama used to almost get the nurses fired. They'd be up, doctor would be calling for the nurses and they'd all be in Travis's room with Mama watching Dynasty and Knots Landing and Dallas. One time Travis wanted shrimp, so Mama boiled shrimp in the middle of the hospital and stuck the whole pediatric floor up. It was, you didn't tell them no. But I really owe a lot to the Presbyterian Hospital. They really took care of my brother, especially Dr. Glamby. We owed a lot of money after Travis died, and between Dr. Glamby and the nurses, they just paid his bill for us, $95,000 paid. And that was really needed because I'm telling you, at this point, we lived in a house that didn't even have water. We had an outhouse in the middle of Gastonia, which is a pretty populated city. It's not no middle of the mountain stuff. And that was embarrassing. But I'd go through it again because I love my family. We might not had half the time we didn't even have what we needed really. But we pulled together and we got through that. We might have come out a little bruised and battered and broken, but we come out together. Okay, this is Paige. That's what we called her. Paige is her real name. We had a little nickname named Paige, and Rudy Roo was another nickname of hers. That's a little tie-dye funnel. Okay. I like to leave a little bit because I want to put some jewels on top of it. Some little crystals. But that's what I want for Paige. Zip her back up. And yeah, I'm a weirdo. My animals, they get cremated. It costs me a fortune, but they'll always be here. They're my babies. I have one child. He's about to turn 21. Okay, this is Petey. Did I leave my funnel in there with Paige-o? Paige-o, did you keep my funnel, Hoochie? Oh well, I don't see it, so we're gonna have to get creative with Petey. Petey's a lot chunkier than Paige-o. I just don't see how I lost that, but we'll live. We will live. Okay. Now we got some Paige-o and Petey in here. Now, I want Petey to have some blue toe pads. Just little crystal flakes. Go right on in there. Bring me some good luck while I'm traveling with my Petey. Okay, Paige, I want her to have some citron. I'm gonna put some citron in with my baby girl. My big old Bobby Goo. Yeah, we're weird. White people are weird with their dogs. They got 27 nicknames and we call them our kids. Okay. Let me grab my glue right quick. Tad bit of glue around the cork. Don't need much or it'll make a mess. Push it down hard. Petey, why are you trying to fall out there, buddy? Alright, let's get Petey. I always get this crap all over me because I'm too nervous. Not because of y'all, just in general. Okay. I'm going to cut it off here, but I'm going to let this dry. As you can see, they're tied together. I'm going to bring these up and make a little... I'll make it short when it's done, but we're running long. But these are my little mini urn bottles. That's Petey, and that's Paige. And I'll probably fill Petey up some more. I lost my daggum funnel, but anyway, this will cost you maybe $1 a piece instead of 30, 40, $50 a piece from some of those urns I bought. So just a little cute thing to honor your pets or loved ones with their cremains. Thank you.